Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing singing the blues for Pattaya's reopening. And I thought of making this video after reading an article from ASEAN Now. That's ASEANnow.com. That's LegacyThaiVisa.com for the old school folks around. The article is titled Pattaya, New, quote, BLUE, it's an acronym, blue, future envisaged, forget entertainment, the focus is business and leisure. Well, okay, so quoting directly, when tourism finally gets off the ground again in Pattaya, they will have to forget the resort's notorious entertainment industry. Well, who says? I'm getting sick and tired of, frankly, I don't mean to go too far off in a rant here, but I see this a lot in the, oh, well, we're just going to have to get used to this, or who? Why? Why do we have to get used to anything? You know, and I'm not trying to make a thing about this. I've seen this a lot in the past year, reading through the press, where it's almost, I hesitate to use the term like brainwashing. That's not exactly what I mean, but it's nudging. It's nudging by influence. Oh, we're just going to have to get used to not having that. Well, why? It's a huge industry in Pattaya. If it goes away on its own, I don't mind journalistic reporting that says, wow, you know, the demography, you know, the way that the overall tourism landscape is changing, you know, we're not going to see this anymore. You know, but this whole, well, we're just going to have to forget about that. Well, who said? Why? Why do we get, you know? Quoting further, and they're talking about, there's basically been this new plan, I'll quote directly, in an 8-point plan aimed at ensuring that foreign tourism can get off the ground, came an acceptance of the situation from the Pattaya Tourist Business Association. Well, the Pattaya Tourist Business Association isn't the end-all be-all. Just because they have certain beliefs doesn't mean, you know, that's the end of the story. However, quoting further, and I thought this was interesting, number 8 assumed the entertainment industry is expected to remain shut whenever Pattaya reopens. Well, for how long? I mean, honestly, and at what point, you know, so entertainment's just done? Is that what we're supposed to take from this? And a lot of people have kind of poked at me on the comments and things and said, well, why are you so concerned about that industry and whatever? I've had clients that have been in that industry. I have a lot of clients in the food and beverage industry. You know, me personally, I don't like to see any major, especially tax revenue earner. And for those who say, well, you know, certain places they were running without, you know, they're running off the books or all in cash. Well, they still had to pay excise tax for their liquor. They still had to, you know, there were still rents that had to be paid, and there's taxes associated with that. I mean, you know, these were economic drivers. Whether people like them or not, you know, the entertainment industry exists in Thailand, you know, and there's different levels, degrees, whatever you want to call it. There's different kinds of entertainment in Thailand. But this notion that, oh, well, you know, we're just done with that, I really don't get where this is coming from. Quoting further, number 6 on the TBA chief Bunanan's Pattanasin's list is stopping any reference to Sandbox in the Pattaya Moves On brand. Okay. Bully for them. Quoting further, marketing materials will refer to Pattaya's new image as Blue, capital BLUE. This stands for Business, Leisure, Ultimate Experience. I think what kind of bothered me about this whole article, and what's been bothering me the past few months, one man's opinion I know, but this notion of micromanaging what kind of tourism we're going to have or what people are going to do and under what circumstances. Well, you know what? That is not what has historically built the tourism sector in Thailand. If you look at the history, it grew up organically. And quite frankly, it grew up organically because Thailand's a very free place. It's very tolerant as long as people aren't hurting each other or overtly committing crimes, things like that. You know, I heard it referred, somebody was talking about sort of changes in the United States. In fact, it was a guy named Simon Mikhailovich who was an emigre. He left Soviet Russia in the late 70s, in the Brezhnev era. And he was talking on a podcast I was listening to the other day about how what he loved when he came to the U.S. was that in the U.S., and he went to the U.S. in like the late 70s, everything, unless it was specifically legislated against, it was presumed you could do anything. You know, you could do what you wanted, unless it was specifically prohibited. And I think those are his exact words. Unless specifically prohibited by law, it was presumed that everything was okay. And then there was some switch in America. It especially started happening at the turn of the millennium in the United States, and has only gained pace, unfortunately. But, you know, we've gone to this, oh, well, you got to presume you can't do anything, and then we'll tell you what you can do. I really don't like to see that. You know, I frankly don't think anybody that values, you know, personal choice and liberty is going to enjoy that. And frankly, it's not what made Thailand's tourism industry great. Frankly, it's not what made Thailand great, if I may be so bold. You know, Thailand's tolerance and her live and let live attitude is what has made this country such a great place. Now, I do understand when exigent circumstances arrive, sometimes restrictions are just part and parcel with that. But this notion, and it seems implied in some of these articles I've read recently, that, well, we're just going to micromanage into infinity. Yeah, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'll hazard a guess and say, I think you're going to have a real problem getting a number of tourists to come to a place that has that kind of paradigm.